Hello, I'm John, and before we head off to join Grahame in Northern Ireland, I'd first of all just like to thank our most recent patrons for supporting the channel and joining our arty community. So thanks go to John Gertin, Latha Palakavalayalil. Now that is one of the most challenging ones so far. Latha Palakavayalil. What a great name. Suzanne La Piazza, which is another lovely name. Margaret Fenwick and Sylvia. So thank you so much for supporting us. And I know you're going to enjoy our upcoming live events. So today on this patron special show, we'll be joining Grahame Booth, where we're going to be exploring winter skies using watercolor. If this is your first time watching one of these live shows, although you can just watch and soak it in, they're actually designed for you to paint along with so that you can maximize your learning experience and improve your art. If you want to give it a go, the recommended materials and reference photos that we'll be using today can be found on our website shopkeeparty.com. You can also find a direct link in the description below. Without further ado, let's now zoom to Grahame. These special shows are designed to give a boost of creative inspiration with leading artists and teachers from around the world. They also provide a good taster of the artist's upcoming full workshop webinar, which is happening in a few weeks' time. As we're zooming in, I can see, oh, he's been in the garden. He's just running inside now, and he's in his studio. Hello, Grahame.
Hello, John. That was a bit of a bumpy landing that time, but you'll have to practice your steering. Hello,
Yes,
folks.
yeah, hello. And how are you? Amazingly, can you believe it? This is our 11th show together.
Is it really?
Yeah, and soon we're going to have to introduce you as one of our artists in residence, I think. Now, how have you been over the last few months?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been away actually teaching over the summer, so mostly in England, but also in Italy. And
Oh,
so it was
lovely.
good fun. It's always good fun to get to new places, but you don't need to get to new places. I mean, you just need to open your door and go out into your garden or
Yeah,
wherever. You
yeah,
don't
yeah,
need to travel, but
exactly.
it's nice to travel.
Yeah. Oh, wow. It'd be lovely. I'd love to go to Italy again soon. So that sounds fantastic. Well, before we make a start, just a 30-second word on how this particular show will work. So first of all, we're going to walk through the preparation, and this might include sketching, talking theory, or applying the first layers of paint. Then at the halfway mark, we're going to take the opportunity to see some examples of Grahame's previous works of art for inspiration, as well as discuss his upcoming 2 to 3 hour workshop webinar, which is happening early next month. And then finally, for those joining live, we'll complete the tutorial by adding the additional layers and detail to the painting to bring it to life, after which you can then share what you've done at home on our Facebook or Instagram page for feedback and comments. With that out of the way, let's now get back to Grahame and we'll make a start. So over to you, Grahame.
Thanks, John. Well, folks, today and at the workshop in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to be talking really about and dealing with winter. Now, I know some of you may be from the Southern Hemisphere, so it's summertime there. But here in Ireland, it's pretty cold this week, and it's starting to get that wintry feel to it. And it's really just what is the difference between winter and summer in regards to our paintings. And really, there are two major influences. First of all, the light. The light in winter is obviously much lower because the sun doesn't get as high in the sky. And because it's lower, it's slightly warmer light, and also shadows that are cast tend to be, well, obviously be longer. So you tend not to get well, John was just saying where he is that there's a bright blue sky today, but bright blue skies in winter are often not actually that atmospheric. They're slightly strange, really, in winter because we're used to them in summer. But in winter, instead, we get that low light, we get the warm light. A lot of color is taken out of the landscape. simply again because of the light and the direction of the light and things like that. And of course the landscape itself changes because all the summer greens essentially, well, a lot of them disappear, and we tend to get autumn colors, so fall colors, so we will get oranges and yellows and things like that. But then as the leaves deteriorate further, everything tends towards gray. So straight away I'm thinking warmer light, less color, and perhaps more gray color, and that will help us to create a winter scene that hopefully will look like a winter scene. So today we've got, this is the photograph that I'm using, and this is actually in the Cotswolds, although it could be probably pretty much anywhere, and it's against the light. Now this was in summer, but I'm going to try to make it more of a winter feel to it. And so I'll be doing stuff with the sky in order to create that warmer light, and I'll be doing something with the landscape, obviously taking away the leaves and the trees and things like that. So I think, I must remember, this is only the 1 hour one, so I better get.
Yes, I know. It's not a workshop. It's not a workshop.
So let's see. We're going to start off with the usual all over wash. But what I'm going to do here is use slightly different colors. So it's to try to get some warmth. The problem with winter landscapes is you need to get warmth into them. There's a lot of coolness in a winter landscape, but if you only have coolness, your painting won't be terribly attractive. So it's important to get some warmth in. So I'm just using a little bit of burnt sienna to start with. And I'm going to take a little bit of white there. Now, that might be a little bit controversial, but it just gives that pale warmth a little bit more body. So plenty of water and a nice full brush. And then I'll just simply put it on. So that looks slightly strong, which means it should be okay. Now, that sounds confusing. Remember, of course, that your paint watercolor will dry much, much lighter than it's applied. A little bit of cobalt, but I don't want the bright blue, so I'm going to dull the cobalt with a little bit of burnt sienna, and that just grays it slightly. Then we'll go back on here. We'll get a little bit of that on. So we've got that nice little bit of light up in the sky. We'll just bring this right down. At this stage, I'm not worrying about details like the building. We can sort all that out later. And then down here, I want to get some nice light because I want to sort of suggest maybe late afternoon, that type of thing. So we'll get a little bit more, maybe even warm it up slightly again with a touch of yellow. That's just Indian yellow in there, maybe a little bit more. There we go. And just get that just under, just there. And then some more of the gray just to let that wash on down. And then down to the actual landscape itself. What I want to do here is sort of try to get the idea of the warmth and the coolness. So the warm light and the sort of cool temperatures. So cool temperatures are very well suggested, I think, by cobalt. So I would use cobalt. If you remember last winter when I did the snow scenes, I used cobalt for the shadows because it gives a cool, cold feel to the thing. And I'm going to just get some of this. I'm not suggesting there's snow or anything like that, but I just want to get some of that coolness in. And then more of a gray, I think, for the rest. So a little bit of ultramarine and some burnt sienna. And that's pretty warm. Bring that down. And again, I emphasize this is all just essentially applying my light. This is all just getting the light in. Now I need to get a little bit of green in here. I mean, the grass doesn't disappear completely. So I'll get a little touch of Indian yellow just into that cobalt mix. And that'll just give me a soft green. We'll just get that in and bring that down to the bottom. But look at how everything's running. If your paint isn't running, you're not putting it on wet enough. It's very important that your paint is very wet. And that's essentially that first stage. So what I'm going to do now
We've just got a couple of questions actually about that,
sure,
Graham.
that's fine.
So Louise asked, could you just run down roughly the colours from top to bottom on what you actually used again?
Yeah, okay, that lovely sort of warm glow up here, that was burnt sienna with a little bit of white. Burnt sienna on its own just wouldn't have that sort of nice body that's got. So that's got the white creates a very slight opacity that just gives you that nice warmth. Then we've got here was cobalt blue and burnt sienna. So cobalt blue on its own, I didn't want it on its own because it'd be too blue. So a little bit of burnt sienna just calms the blue down, turns it more gray. This was that plus a little bit of yellow, although in hindsight, I think I prefer that. And down here was sort of mixtures of all of these. And then finally a little bit of Indian yellow into the blue mix, just to give me that vague green. So the colors are very subdued, but as I say, color wise, we're not really getting into the colors just yet because this is more really just getting my light. Now, in order to...
And just one other question from Jennifer.
Sure.
She said, what would be a substitute for white watercolor, which she doesn't use? Could she use white gouache, for example?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm using white gouache. I
okay.
pointed that out. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, white gouache is fine. Don't use white acrylic because it'll well have the same effect, but the problem is the white acrylic will tend to if you forget about it and you leave it in your palette, that's it. Your palette you'll never be able to get rid of it. Or if you leave it in a brush, you can say goodbye to your brush. So it's much better, I think, to use white gouache rather than white acrylic. Okay, so back to the painting. I want to get a little bit more variety in the sky. So I'm going to get some ultramarine, bit of burnt sienna. So again, the ultramarine on its own is very blue, but a little bit of the burnt sienna just calms it down a little bit, makes it a little bit more manageable. And I just want to see, has that dried? That has dried. Okay, that's all right. Bring this in. Now, this might sort of look a little bit scary, and indeed it scares me, so it probably would scare you. Got to give it a little spray, and the spray will just gently soften the edges and create that sort of wintry look. Now, you can see the way it's running down here. Now, again, we don't need to panic. Just take a brush, make sure it's pretty dry, and then I can just gently control that. There's a better way, actually. If I take my old oh, there it is. Yeah, sorry about that. My old Chinese brush wasn't there. I can take a Chinese brush and I can just go around the edges a little bit, and that will sort of also have a softening effect as well.
Now Jennifer's asked, "Is your paper flat?" And I think because it's running down, I think it will be inverted, won't it?
I should have been clear about that. No, my paper's at about 30 degrees. It looks flat because the camera is directly above it. Okay, now into that, I want to get a little bit more warmth. Now remember, I always say this quite a lot. You can touch watercolor if it's very wet or very dry. Once it starts to dry, you're better leaving it alone. So this is really very wet. So I'm going to just get another little bit of my warmth into there. And then I'm going to get more of that gray, and I'll just bring that down and bring that down to what is effectively my horizon. Now I've got a bit of a problem here, all these old sort of hard edges. So I'll just take my Chinese brush. The reason I'm using the Chinese brush is that it gives quite a nice little sort of, if I can sort of do a couple of little dots just to show you, you can see those little
we're just on the palette at the moment.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I had my finger on the wrong button there. Yes, with the Chinese brush, if I do a couple of little marks, you can see the way the brush really sort of opens up quite a lot, and this won't happen with your normal brushes with sable or synthetic or anything like that, but it does give you the opportunity to make slightly different marks, and you can sort of disturb that slightly. Ideally, a little bit of dampness here would be better. So what I'll do is I'll just give this a little spray, this right-hand side. Remember, as long as it's very wet or very dry, you can do pretty much anything. So this is my Chinese brush. I'm going to abuse it. This is pushing it down to separate those hairs, so you can see just how mangled that is, and that's just the nature of these things. But if I just go up in here, this is wet enough, may not be wet enough actually. I can get quite a nice little effect. It's not wet enough. Oh, well, give it another spray. Always remember, the worst that can happen if you use too much spray is just you have to wait for it to dry. There's no issue at all, but you have to remember what the medium is all about. The medium is all about water. That's hence the name, watercolor.
And Sinclair said, what is a Chinese brush? Are they actually called Chinese brushes?
Oh, no, they're actually called Chinese brushes. Yes, they are. They're usually made of, well, the hair is always rather imprecise. We never really quite know what the hair is, but it's usually it's usually goat hair. The white ones would be goat hair, and they'd be the ones I would recommend. And goat hair is soft, which is perfect for watercolor, but it's not terribly resilient. It has no spring. So if I bend that over and let go, it springs up a little bit, but not as much as this is my synthetic brush here, for example. And if I do that and let go, it just bongs straight back up again. So there's quite a considerable difference in the spring of it. And it's because it's not at all springy, it means it will very easily come out of place. And just, you can use it for something different. It's to be honest, that's probably not the best of demonstrations as to what it can do, but it's a useful brush to have. And it's a useful brush to have if you're sort of working on a budget. It's a great brush to use anyway, because it does point nicely. If I give it a rinse and stop abusing it, you'll be able to see that it has a reasonable point. Yeah, I can point it even more. Now, so it's a good enough little brush, and they're not expensive.
And Manette's asked a couple of questions about the paper and things like that. But Manette, if you go to our website and go to the page, it's got all the materials that Grahame's using today, what paper, that it's a knot, etc., etc. So do check out our website, because it's got a whole list of the materials on there anyway.
What I was doing there, I've just noticed that the way I put that on, I conveniently just missed the roof. So it means I can have the roof quite light at that part. I'm always looking for light and dark interchanges. So, and I was planning to do the roof quite dark, but I might try it, keeping it light there, see what happens. Yeah, watercolor is a voyage of discovery, and it's a voyage of discovery even when you've been painting as long as I have. And that's simply because every painting is different. And even if I was to repeat the same painting every day for a year, I would have 365 different paintings at the end of it. Okay, that's going to take time to dry, so I'll just leave that alone. And then coming down here for the distant field, there's a distant field in here. If I just remind you of the subject, there's a little distant field there just to the left of the house, and I'm going to suggest that distance by perhaps exaggerating the cobalt a little bit more than normal. I'm doing this for two reasons, because, as I say, the cobalt sort of hints at coolness. Now, it can also hint at snow, and I don't want it to hint as snow because this isn't a snow scene. It's just supposed to be a winter scene. So I'll get a little bit of the blue on. And then what I think I'll do, just to make sure there's no risk of it looking like snow, I'll get a little bit of burnt sienna, and I'll just bring that into the sort of closer part of it. Now, notice I'm not getting too caught up in, what's happening around here. The only thing I'm going to do, and I always do, and it's a good thing to do, is that where you have an edge the problem is if I let that dry, that watercolor is transparent, so you're going to see that little shape unless I cover that with a very, very strong wash. So in order to avoid that, once I get the bit covered that I want, even if I've gone a little bit to the side, all I do is take my brush, softening brush, whatever it happens to be, and just soften that edge. And that way I don't have the problem of the hard edge showing through the next wash. There we go. So, you know, it's a very simple way just to make your life as a watercolor painter a little bit easier. Okay, I think I'll dry that. So just give me a second or two and I'll put the...
Well, Grahame, while before you do the hairdryer, would it be a good chance to allow it to dry naturally and we could take the halfway pause, or would you like to do a little bit more before we have the halfway stage?
No, we could take the halfway pause now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep. So it's always a good. It's designed to allow those initial layers to dry. So great start, and hopefully your paintings are coming on at home as well. So it's really, it looks, Grahame always makes it look so simple. It's really annoying. Anyway, while we let that dry, let's now take a look, hopefully, at some of Grahame's previous works of art for a little bit of inspiration. I don't know whether you've pulled any out, Grahame. I forgot to mention it before we started, but
luckily I now know what you're thinking, John. So
good,
yes,
good.
I've got some pulled out here.
Okay, good. So what examples have you got for us?
Yeah, there's a few here. So this one here, for example, this is a church pretty near to where I live. Wow. And a place called Hillsborough. And again, it's quite clearly a winter scene, partly because of the trees, obviously. Now, the trees are a bit strange looking because these are pollarded trees, either pollarded or pollarded trees. So in other words, all the branches are removed to let them sort of form a very regular shape in the summer. So they look a bit weird, but I thought I'd keep them because that's what they were like. And that's not necessarily a good reason, but anyway, that's why I did it. Now, the background, as you can see, is quite soft and indistinct. There's a little bit of distinction here and there, but by and large, it just all melds together. And I'll be looking at that more in the workshop, because that is one of the ways that you can really get a good feel for winter is the background. And we're not really going to get into that today, not very much, but in the workshop that'll be a big part of the workshop.
Now, before you move on to the following painting, Alison Welch Thornton has said she used to live there in your previous painting. Yeah. There we go. So well done, Alison.
Place. Yeah, lovely place. Next one then is this one. Again, technically there's nothing to tell you exactly what time of year it is, but because I haven't used green for the trees, I've used that sort of grayish color, and we've got a pretty wild sky. Then the feel is that it's not a bright, warm summer's day. The feel is that it's winter rather than spring. Definitely. If you look at that one, again, what I've used, it's this idea of the cool colors. So you can see the blue on the hill to the left, and the sort of blue all over the place. I've used these little blue colors, but interspersed with warm colors, because the warmth is absolutely vital. You need the warmth to really, to create interest in a painting. I remember a gallery owner told me many years ago that he could never sell a snow scene that was completely cold. He always had to have warmth in it. I'm sure I've mentioned that before to you. So I've taken that on board, and I make sure that all my paintings, particularly what would be considered cold paintings, I make sure there's plenty of warmth in them.
And they all look amazing, and they really do. You can just tell with the colours that Grahame's chosen. It does scream winter season through those paintings, which is lovely. And for those watching at home, let me know in the chat which one stood out to you and why. I know which one Alison will be choosing. And also, if you're watching the highlights on YouTube and you're loving what you're seeing, would really appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up. YouTube then recommends this show to more viewers and helps us in our mission, which is to inspire more people to give art a try, young and old alike. So thank you in advance. Now let's get back to Grahame, and we'll discuss what we'll be covering in a few weeks' time. So Grahame, tell us more about this upcoming workshop. What have you chosen to cover in your 2 to 3 hour session?
Yeah, the workshop subject is going to be this one. That's the actual painting that I did of it. Now the painting that I'll do in 2 weeks' time won't be the same, because it just isn't, but it gives you an idea. If I show you the actual photograph, you'll see that Oh, sorry, wrong one. You'll see that the photograph in the back, everything's very busy. Look how busy that background is. And the background is so busy, it's clashing with our boat in the foreground. But if I switch to the painting, you can see how I've simplified that background, and the boat and the clutter around the moorings stands out much better. And it'll be that idea of simplifying backgrounds, and it's particularly suitable for winter scenes, not exclusively. It can be used any time of the year, but it's very appropriate for winter scenes, because in winter we always get that slight, almost slight mistiness in a subject, and if you can capture that slight mistiness, it always helps to sort of suggest that time of year. So we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking a little bit more. We'll be just looking generally at colors and how we use them, at the light and how it changes and things like that. But a lot of it will be down to, again, which it is in a lot of cases, simplifying the subject in order to draw the attention to the important part of the subject. And that is one of the most important things in any sort of painting, irrespective of what medium it might be.
Yeah, thank you. And it looks fantastic. They always are brilliant workshops, and you'll learn loads from it as well. So if you do want to join us for the event, it's taking place on Thursday, the 9th of December at 3:30 in the afternoon. A nice early Christmas present to yourself, or maybe a gift to someone special. Spaces are limited, and you can either book by clicking the pop-out link just here, or search for Shopkeep Arty and visit our website. I'll show you now how you can find it on our website to book. So you simply head over to shopkeeparty.com and you click on the live events section at the top. And you'll notice the art experience gifts there. I'll come back to that in a few moments. We launched that earlier this week. So you scroll down and there's Grahame's workshop just there, and click on the see details page. You can scroll down and read a little bit more about it. You can see the reference pictures that we've just been discussing. Those will be sent to you the day before the workshop, along with the link to join. We've got the recommended materials there. We also have a special deal with Jackson's Art as well that ships globally, a 10% off deal there if you want to top up on anything. If you want to join the webinar, there's the link, or if you're one of our patrons, as you probably are if you're joining us today, you can get a discount there. You click on that item and you can select either the live webinar entry or the webinar plus the video for a special price. You just simply add it to your cart and check out. Although it's in pounds, your local bank or card issuer will convert it to your local currency after the event. If you do order the video, or you can choose to pay for that at a later date, you can go to our video library, search for Grahame, and it will show all his different workshops, and obviously his upcoming one will be on there after the event, and you can purchase the video and then watch it from there. Now, I mentioned the art experience cards, which we've just literally launched. So on our live events page, if you go to that, you'll see that there is one of Grahame's there. So you click on that, and what this is a really high quality card, a gift card that you can send to someone maybe for this Christmas or whatever, and that's what it looks like. But inside it's actually blank, although we didn't kind of put that it was blank, but it doesn't actually have Dear John in there. That is actually blank. You can write on there, but it does have this QR code that the person receiving the card can scan, and it has the full workshop of Grahame painting that painting at the front of that card. So that's the whole theory behind it, and we've had some really great feedback from some people so far, so check that out as well. Hopefully that's been useful. Now it's time to go back and rejoin Grahame. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll now hear some music as the rest of this tutorial speeds up. Like our other patron specials throughout the month, these shows and their full-length recordings can only be accessed by our patrons who help support our channel and enable us to bring a huge and diverse range of top international artists to you each week. Without you, we really wouldn't be able to keep going, so thank you. Anyhow, I hope you've been inspired by what you've seen today, and that we'll see you at one of our upcoming live events in real time next time. Goodbye.
Don't want to sleep tonight at all. Just wanna watch them stars fall. But you don't wanna try to make up dreams just to be seen. I wanna lay here beside you, oh quiet. Fire breath and open sky. It's not what we know, it's where we go. I grow wings and tell her goodbye. Oh, it's not what we see, it's what we choose to be. Sunflowers, high grass and bare feet. Oh, but you each second is a treat. I keep my balance next to you. It's true. Nowadays there's nothing I wouldn't do for you. Fire breath and open sky. It's not what we know, it's where we go. I grow wings and tell her goodbye. It's not what we see, it's what we choose to be. We're beyond good, I've never been so ready. Fire breath and open sky. It's not what we know, it's where we go. I grow wings and tell her goodbye. Oh, it's not what we see, it's what we choose to be. Fire breath and open sky. It's not what we know, it's where we go. I grow wings and tell her goodbye. It's not what we see, it's what we choose to be.
And how did you get on at home? It'd be fantastic to have a look at some of those creations. It was a nice pace today, and hopefully most of you were able to finish it as well. Now, as we near the end of the show, if you've got any words of thanks that you'd like me to pass on to Grahame, please do write them down for me now on the Q&A. Also, Grahame and I love to see what you've created from the class, as I said, and the post relating to it's already on our Facebook page. So search for Shopkeep Arty and you'll find it there, and just take a photo of what you do, either now or once you feel like you've finished it, and then we can have a look, and also have a look at what other people have posted as well. Give them a like, maybe make a few positive comments. It's a really nice community thing. So this brings us to the end of another great show. I'll now go back to Grahame and read out some of your comments for him. So Victoria said, thanks to Grahame for another fabulous workshop, also for sharing his tips, especially the one about leaving your brush on the paper when softening. She found that really useful.
Very important, very important.
Jennifer said, love the colours Grahame's used today. Definitely captured a winter's day. Thank you for a really great webinar. Alison said, thanks so much. That was brilliant. Ellen said, Grahame makes this look so easy. He is simply brilliant. Thank you. Hazel said, as ever, absolutely great class. Thanks, Grahame. Karen, such a wonderful style. Love to watch the process. Thank you, Grahame. Andrew, superb. Thanks, Grahame. Susie, always fabulous. Thank you both. Monette, Grahame is one of the most generous artists you have. Terrific for Thanksgiving here in the US. So thank you. Thanks, Monette.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. And Joan said, always fantastic classes. Gary, wonderful, Grahame. Really hoping to see you in person person next year. Best
Hope
from
so, Guy.
Susie too. Trina said, thank you, Graham. Always enjoy your classes and workshops and learn so much to practice. So glad to be here this morning. Louise said, thanks very much. Very informative. Latha said, thank you. So informative. Oh, that was Latha. Hello, Latha. That was, I hope I pronounced your name correctly at the start. Sally, thank you. Lovely, gentle painting. Carl, looking forward to the full workshop. Already registered. Lenny said, love the demo. Thanks so much, Graham. I love your style. Judy, very lovely scene. Graham always makes it look so easy to paint. Thank you for the encouragement. And Francoise said, learnt a lot today. Great class. Thank you very much. So a really great session. Thank you so much for all your comments. By the way, we've had a lovely short tutorial a few weeks ago with Portuguese artist Antonio Bartolo, and I'd highly recommend his full-length workshop webinar, which is actually happening on Monday next week on the 29th of November, where we're actually going to be painting a gorgeous harbour scene in Lisbon. So do check that out on our live events section. Obviously, don't forget to make a note in your diary for Graham's workshop on the 9th of December, so early next month. And as always, it will be a one to remember. I can guarantee it. And finally, a bit of housekeeping and a note about our weekly newsletter. So as most of you'll know, we send out a newsletter email every Saturday. So if you've signed up for our newsletter on our website or whatever, and we send it out Saturday morning with a summary of what you can look forward to in the coming week. And we've had one or two people contact us recently to say that they haven't had anything, but they did sign up. And when we've investigated it, our system said that they had unsubscribed, which coincidentally, they didn't remember that they'd done. But anyway, if you do unsubscribe at any point, you'll never get a newsletter from us again, as our system won't allow it. So if you don't get an email from us, but you'd like one, because we do summarize everything in the upcoming week or whatever, please do email us and let us know and give us the email that you'd like us to send it to. And what we'll do is we'll unsubscribe your status on the system, and then you'll get it again. So just letting you know, we do send one out every Saturday morning, so if you don't get one, then you know why. On that note, this brings us to the end of another amazing show. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great one, but obviously, until next time, goodbye from me, but thank you to Grahame for all his generous tips and techniques. It was a really lovely one. Thanks so much, Grahame.
Thanks, folks. Thanks, John. And always remember, folks, that a couple of people mentioned about how I make it look easy. And I always say it isn't easy, but what definitely helps is not worrying about making mistakes. As you saw, I made plenty. I pointed them out. Making mistakes is something you will always do when you're painting watercolor. Don't worry about it. Just do it, relax, enjoy yourself, splash some color on, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, well said. Thank you, Grahame. That certainly deserves a big round of applause. And we'll finish on the painting. Thanks, Grahame.